Good afternoon. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order for the Planning Commission. Gina, may I get a roll call, please?
Yes. Good evening, Commissioners. Chairman Zarguni,
Present.
Vice Chairman Miller,
Here.
Commissioner York is absent, Commissioner Mandel,
Here.
Commissioner Salazar Garza, here. Commissioner Munoz,
Here.
and Commissioner Motagi. Quorum established.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to move the director report toward the first item. Ms.
Thank
Mendez
you.
has some exciting news to share with us.
Thank you, Nina Nixon Mendez, Assistant Director. I have a very special announcement regarding the Richard R. Lilly FAICP Planning Excellence Recognition Program. The Texas chapter of the American Planning Association recognizes planning excellence in municipalities throughout the state. Evaluation criteria include the level of training of planning commissioners and professional staff, professional qualifications of the planning staff, breadth and currency of master plan components, and completion of planning-related projects. The goals of the program include increasing community awareness of the importance of planning, recognizing planning departments which meet certain professional requirements, recognizing planning efforts that have achieved community support, encouraging the funding of professional training for planning commissioners and staff, and aiding economic development and community image. At the annual American Planning Association Texas Chapter Conference in El Paso, the city of Corpus Christi was recognized with a Certificate of Achievement for Planning Excellence. Corpus Christi was recognized for its commitment to professional planning by city administration, elected and appointed officials, and exemplary professional standards demonstrated by the planning staff. Both Planning and Development Services Departments jointly submitted the nomination for Corpus Christi. So with that, I offer you our congratulations. And here's the certificate for y'all to see. And at this time, we'd like to get a photograph of the Planning Commission and all the planning staff in the Planning Department and Development Services Department. And so if the commissioners could stand at their seats and staff come to the front.
Oh, thanks.
Doing a Travolta style. More importantly, also found that we won the conference next year. 800 planners coming next time. Awesome.
Thank you so much. Great accomplishment. Great work, everyone. Okay, moving on, I'd like to open the public comment at this time. Is there anyone that would like to speak regarding any general particular item, not specific any item at this time? Anyone would like to speak? None, I will close the public comments and ask for a motion of approval of the absences for Commissioner Munoz.
I move that we approve the absence of Commissioner Munoz.
We have a motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving on to approval of the minutes from Planning Commission, November 2nd, 2022. Do we have a
Move that
motion?
we approve the minutes from November 2nd, 2022.
We have a motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving on to consent public hearing, item A and B.
Good evening, Commissioners. Mark Orozco, Senior City Planner with Development Services. I'm going to be reading into record items, consent items A and B. Starting off with the plats. Item number 2, Padma Estates subdivision. This is an OCL plat, final plat of 19.2 acres. Nueces River Irrigation Park, Block 1, Lot 9A. This is a final plat of 1.57 acres. Item number 4, Bridges Mill Village, Unit 3, final plat of 12.906 acres. Item number 5, this is also an OCL plat. This is a preliminary plat for 665 Partners Commercial of 101.63 acres. Moving on to number 6, this is a plat with a waiver, sidewalk waiver actually, for Tyler subdivision, Block 8, Lots 12A and 13A, a replat of .275 acres. Continuing with the plat time extensions for number 8, we have River Ridge Unit 4. It's for a preliminary plat of 38.75 acres. I'm going to go ahead and read the zoning, the new zoning item, consent item number 9. This is for Cypress Point Capital LLC. The property is located east of County Road 43 and south of FM 2444. This is a rezoning from the FR Farm Rural District to the RS 22 Single Family 22 District. As far as the plats, they are meeting the Texas Local Government Code and the design standards in the UDC. Staff recommends approval for the plats as well as the new zoning. Are there any questions for staff at this time?
Thank you. Commissioners, do you have any question for staff regarding item number 2 to 9? None. At this time, I'd like to open the public hearing. Does anyone would like to speak regarding any of these items? Please come forward to the podium. None. I will close the public hearing and entertain further discussion or a motion.
I motion that we pass items number 2 through 9 as presented by staff.
Second?
We have a motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 10, discussion and possible action regarding the West Side Area Development Plan.
I get off of this? Let's see. No, I don't want that.
Okay, good evening, Commissioners Arguni and Planning Commissioners. My name's Annika Yankee. I'm the Planning Manager with the Planning Department for the city. So today is a public hearing for the West Side Area Development Plan project, which we've been working on since basically December 2019. So we're in the final stretch of getting this done. I'm going to cover the overview of the project, an engagement summary, the future land use map, which you're probably most familiar with, and the content of the plan, which is the vision themes and the policy initiatives and public investment initiatives. So this is the West Side Planning District. We have 9 planning districts in our city. This is approximately 22 square mile area. Roughly, it covers the neighborhoods west of the Crosstown Expressway, but all the way from the north I-37 down to the Oso Creek on the south. The area development plans are basically a general plan for the planning district. It's similar to the content of the comprehensive plan, but gets a little more specific. And we've been working to update these area development plans that we have on the books. Several of our planning districts hadn't been updated since the late 1980s, and the West Side is one of them. So to tell you about the West Side study area, it has a population of 53,000 people, a median household income of $33,000, median home value of $71,000, 86% identify as of having Hispanic or Latino origin, and in terms of educational attainment, we have 36% without a high school degree. This is, you might know, an older area of our city. 87% of the housing units were built before 1980. And just another statistic, much of the sewer lines were built in the 1940s, 50s, and 60s. So in terms of this planning process, as I mentioned, we really started with our first public meeting in December 2019, and we just had our summer public meeting at the end of June. And I was here to brief you. Some of you are new, I think, but at the end of, or very beginning of July, I think is when I briefed you first on this. So we've had 5 advisory committee meetings, 2 community surveys, and we just wrapped up our summer engagement with an open house and a public survey that we conducted to review that summer draft of the plan. So in terms of, these plans have to be rooted in what the community has stated as were their priorities. So in our initial engagement, which we consider the visioning, at our open house, for example, we heard that some of the most important things from the community that they want us to consider in future improvements are economic development and the quality of life in this area. At the open house, people also said they wanted more housing choices and to see mixed-use development patterns and more employment opportunities. And the survey that followed that open house, we had 326 participants, which is really pretty good, 76 saying that they lived in the study area. From the survey, too, we had that public services were top priorities for them: water quality, improving existing parks, more housing, more single-family homes, and that public transportation was their biggest challenge, and that there was a desire for more family-friendly activities. This second survey that we had, and we did this one over the summer, and this survey was geared or designed to help the public review that draft plan. So it was a pretty lengthy survey, and we had 180 participants in that, and I'll say that I was impressed and pleased that for each of the questions we asked, even towards the end, we still had like 160 responses all the way to the end of it. 43% said that they live in the West Side, and 30% said that they live and work in the West Side. We also had a guest book page where people could just simply tell us their priorities on the project webpage. And we had 44 comments left there. We polled that 18 of them were the top comments were about recreational facilities. Second was safety issues, economic stimulation. Okay, so moving into the content of the draft plan, we have a future land use map here. You probably know, right, that the future land use map informs rezoning decisions. It's part of that discussion. And it also helps us as planners envision how an area can develop or maybe even should develop. These future land use maps can help us to keep development organized, and it helps us to plan for growth and protecting neighborhoods, really. So we asked people, we presented a future land use map and asked, people said, asked whether they agreed with it or not. So we had 73% agreeing that they supported that future land use map. But we also had some public comments that that made us look at some amendments. So people commented, these were just two of them, that maybe it didn't support a walkable environment, that there should be more direct discussion about where high-density housing goes, and also to be mindful of the historic neighborhoods, because that was a statement, a policy initiative in our plan to look at incentives for restoring houses in historic neighborhoods, such as Saxett Heights and Oak Park. And so we evaluated how we had industrial uses or even mixed-use uses in those areas of the historic neighborhoods. We also added a statement here for your consideration in the future and for staff to help remember that the West Side does have the area west of the Crosstown Expressway has neighborhoods where there are some mix of uses with some neighborhood services at intersections, but in the vicinity of neighborhoods, not big commercial areas. And so that when you're considering rezonings, this might all look yellow for housing, right? But that you can consider neighborhood service commercial uses at maybe key intersections or where it's not. It provides a service to the neighborhood and isn't harmful to that neighborhood. Okay, so this is the makeup of our plan, vision themes and policy initiatives, followed by action items. So the vision themes are really a picture of the future that are accompanied by a vision statement too. And then the policy initiatives touch on different topics, but help us reach those priorities that we identified through this process. So the vision theme, and I'm going to tell you too how the results of the survey after each of these slides. So we have 3 vision themes. The first one is revitalization, that West Side neighborhoods are invigorated by economic development, preserved and enhanced neighborhoods, and access to job training and educational opportunities. And we had 87% agreed with this policy, a vision theme. So some of the community input backing that vision theme is restoring and rebuilding older neighborhoods, taking care of helping businesses on Leopard Street, protected bicycle lanes along each corridor, and but that revitalization shouldn't come at the cost of affordability. Second vision theme would be culture. So the city celebrates the heritage of West Side neighborhoods by building on their deep-rooted culture. 79% of people agreed with this vision theme. And so this community input behind this vision theme was about noting that the West Side neighborhoods do have this historic fabric, that they tend to be more walkable, and to build on those aspects. It's a culturally rich community, keeping the local character. The third vision theme is on health and safety. So West Side neighborhoods are safe, family-oriented communities that support a high quality of life. And this one had an 85% of the survey respondents agreed with this vision theme. Okay, so now there are 7 policy initiatives, and I'm not going to cover every single action item within those because that's really the bulk of the plan, but we did kind of consolidate them and ask people to kind of vote on what their priority, whether they agreed or agreed with those action items that we had drafted. So this policy initiative on safety is enhancing the overall safety through improved programming and environmental design. 96% of survey respondents said that this was important to them. And I just picked the top action items, but so these are the highest ranking. Increased lighting. We heard a lot about a need for increased lighting through this whole process. Implementing crime prevention through environmental design. Supporting programs to assist with home repair, neighborhood cleanup events, and buying and preparing abandoned properties for redevelopment. The second policy initiative is on drainage and transportation. So improving transportation and drainage infrastructure to create a safe environment for all road users and mitigate the impacts on the community from flooding. And so 99% said that this was important. Keeping drainage ditches free of trash, creating safe transportation facilities for all users, ensuring that our public projects have the opportunity to increase stormwater capacity, developing that Lavoya Creek Regional Detention Pond, which is a city project we're currently working on, and ensuring that priority streets get reconstructed. The third policy initiative is on healthy living, so improving and expanding facilities and programming to support a healthy lifestyle, with 97% saying that this was important. Action items are on the topics of pursuing programs that help kids walk and bike to school safely, improving pedestrian connectivity between parks and neighborhoods and other services, getting access to affordable foods, which that's also related to connectivity, expanding bike and pedestrian infrastructure for those who cannot drive, and improving access to healthcare and social services. The fourth policy initiative is on housing and neighborhoods, which we heard a lot about during our public engagement, that the West Side should be an area for all incomes to be able to live there. And kind of generationally speaking, I think there was comments about being able to buy a new house in the West Side that's comparable to, say, the South Side, for example. So supporting a variety of housing options and affordability levels to encourage homeownership and sustain the existing housing stock, with 98% saying that this was important. And high-ranking action items were updating codes to allow more housing types, which we've done some work there on accessory dwelling units, for example. Supporting the building of new homes in existing neighborhoods, we call that infill. And improving drainage in neighborhoods and reducing runoff, implementing neighborhood improvement projects, and protecting neighborhoods from incompatible commercial or industrial development, and incentivizing the rehab of houses in historic neighborhoods. So those were top-ranked action items. The fifth policy initiative on culture and history, preserve, promote, and celebrate the local history and culture of the West Side. 79% saying that this one was important. So this one was a little lower ranking than the others, but I still feel that that was a high rank. So holding cultural events that celebrate this community in the West Side Planning District, supporting the growth of the Garcia Arts and Education Center here on Agnes, increasing the exposure to arts, and then identifying and preserving and building on the historic West Side neighborhoods. The sixth policy initiative is expanding public and private community services. So 79% saying that this was important. High-ranking action items were increasing access to youth programs through schools and nonprofits, continuing programs that improve conditions for those experiencing homelessness, and partnering with local churches, nonprofits, and leaders to promote the community services that we have and those resources. The last policy initiative is on economic development, and that initiative states that we would foster an environment for economic development that attracts new businesses, increases employment, and revitalizes or enhances existing commercial industrial areas. 98% said that they agreed with this, with incentivizing, attracting and incentivizing investments and job creation in the West Side being the highest ranking action item, expanding water and wastewater service infrastructure to undeveloped areas of the West Side, and supporting public markets along accessible routes, and providing resources to help small businesses. So I would say from our summer outreach, to me, the theme that I saw, especially in all the written comments that get submitted, I mentioned lighting was a theme, safe neighborhoods, addressing homelessness was a theme, a care about parks, a desire for more businesses, housing for all incomes, and neighborhood cleanup events. So the next part of our draft plan includes 3 maps on public investments, and these are broken out into short-term, mid-term, and long-term. Many of these come straight from our capital improvement program, which includes the bond program as well. Some of them are ideas that came from the process. So this one, I'm not going to go through these, but if you had a chance to review them or if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. This is our midterm map here. And this, on the midterm here, let's see, I think on short-term is the, includes the Lavoya Creek project, which you'll end up hearing more about. Not from me today, but as the city makes progress on that. And here are our long-term projects as well. So staff is recommending approval of this, and I mentioned that we had an advisory committee that met 5 times. They also have been supportive of this plan, and I've reviewed all the changes that we've made. There was a handful of changes that came out of the summer engagement, and we reviewed those together with the advisory committee, and so this is the plan that we're putting forth for adoption. And so today we're seeking your questions too, but your recommendation ultimately on whether to approve this or approve it with any changes. And when we get your input, we'll take it to the City Council for a final hearing. And I'm available if you have any questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Miller.
What tools do we have? I know that it comes up a lot in these recommendations to incentivize restoration of historic properties and incentivize businesses. I mean, what tools do we have, or what could we come up with that would make that a reality?
Well, there's certainly, and this is in the plan, looking into like rebate programs for, well, actually, number 1 was identifying those historic neighborhoods. I'm looking at Nina because she worked on the historic preservation plan. So identifying those areas where we're looking to see restoration of historic neighborhoods, but you could do things like having rebate programs for renovation.
And where would that be funded from? That's the magic question.
Well, I think you're talking about waivers or fee waivers is what you're talking about with respect.
That
So
could be
that's,
some, yeah.
You know, that's one option, and typically the general fund funds those so that the Development Services Department doesn't lose those revenues because we have to keep operating. But that's generally, those types of things are funded through the general fund. There are also tax abatement programs that many cities offer that we could look to, and that would be an abatement of ad valorem taxes for a period of years based on the amount that is put into the rehabilitation. Most cities require, 50% of the value of the improvements, but it varies from city to city. But that's a very good option for us as well, and that was discussed in the preservation plan. It's something we want to look into.
That's what I've always thought about, because it's kind of a double-edged sword to invest a ton of money into a property and then all of a sudden you get slapped with a higher appraisal after you do it, and then you're locked into paying higher taxes. So some sort of a tax freeze, I think would be very beneficial and get people motivated to restore some of these properties.
That was something, though, that was also discussed for non-historic properties and just even neighborhoods that are struggling, is the concern about improving your property and then seeing taxes go up. And so, tax abatement is something that can be done for any neighborhood that you want to see reinvestment.
Cool.
We also looked at infill, issues with infill too. So in here, we have ideas that we look at reducing or rebating, rezoning fees in areas where we want to see infill happening, or looking into ways to reduce the burden of having to replat properties that are non-conforming for somebody to have to build across the lot lines. They have to go replat it. And so those things add to the cost of development. So that would also be something that would help someone.
Well, if and when impact fees, I know that's a bad word in the development community, but if and when impact fees do come for new development, those would not apply to currently platted lots on infill properties, correct?
Right, those would come into effect at the time of platting or submission of your building plans.
But if the city adopted impact fees, that would just be,
But it's for newly platted properties.
yeah, newly platted
Yes,
properties. So if you already have a platted lot in an established neighborhood that you're going to infill, you wouldn't have to pay those impact fees upon, you just pay for your building permit, correct?
I believe it would be structured that way, yes.
Yeah, so that's kind of a built-in incentive if and when we ever get there. Okay,
That's right.
thanks.
You good? Anyone else? Commissioner Garza.
Yes, I'm really glad to see something is starting to exist with this in that area. I do believe a lot in the trying to keep the historic culture in that area, because that is one of our older areas, and there is a lot of history. I know one personally, my mom graduated from what is called Miller High School now, but it was called Corpus Christi High School, and she was raised in that area. So I'm familiar with that area, but I haven't been around it in many years. So I'm glad to see that there's a lot that you guys are trying to do to move forward on this, and communicating with the people that live there. I think that's really important to find out. I was reading some of the comments that people were really concerned about and wanting to improve in that area. And lighting seems to be very important, not just in that area, in several other areas, but I think placing the lighting there will be I think it will be so important to keep it that way, because there is a lot of crime, there is a lot of other things that they were commenting on. So with you putting this in there, I'm just interested to finding out, I know it's got to go through us and then it's got to go through the city council, but is there a time plan that y'all have structured if this all seems to pass through? Like, I know you're giving us a time area, a time years, but like, I don't know, I guess I want to be a little bit more detailed in finding out, when does this plan on happening?
Right, right. So I do think that a big part of the plan is just touching base with the community and having something that we can work towards. So a lot of these policy initiatives are like, evaluating programs. So do the work to evaluate programs for tax abatements or to preserve historic neighborhoods. So we'll have to figure out how our small planning team at least, is able to, what we're able to work on in the next few years. But a lot of it is also other departments and kind of us going about communicating with other departments. Here's what we've heard, and can we work on some of these things? So like we review, our team reviews public infrastructure projects that come through. So we try to help coordinate some of the ideas that are in these plans and try to help get them implemented during public projects.
Okay, I think it's great. I think it's a good start. I think it's a necessity for that area.
But I'd say, yeah, part of this is us then going to the departments and helping to push forward some of these initiatives as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else at this time? My question to you is in regarding the public outreach. You mentioned that you all reach out to the public through social media platforms. Is that correct? Was there like in-person meetings, also knowing that some people may not use social media all the time, and just to make sure that we receive and hear their full input.
Yeah, we do both. So we had an initial open house public meeting for the first phase of engagement, and then here at the end of June, we did two meetings, one in the evening and one during the daytime, back to back. So that was the in-person engagement that we had. Of
Good.
course, the advisory committee meetings as well.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you. Any other question at this time for staff? Commissioner Muir.
Yeah, I noticed that there was a concern about homelessness when it comes to safety. Do you have any specific initiatives to address that concern?
Well, that's a little complicated just because there has to be, the city is working on its own citywide initiative. So these plans really help support and back the other plans that the city does. So for example, we communicate with the Neighborhood Services Department, who's in charge of the homelessness plan. And this plan basically says to continue and support issues around, not issues, but the implementation of a homeless issues plan.
Okay. So it's just to support the overall homeless initiative that Corpus Christi has?
Right, because we need to get into the details as they do, well, not us, but the city gets into the details of that plan when they work on that one.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think they're working on that as we speak, or they're working on developing that.
Because I know the Agnes, Crosstown areas are really, really big hub for
Yeah.
homeless activity, so I know that falls within this West Side community, that's why I
Yes,
asked.
yes.
Anyone else? Okay, at this time, I'd like to open the public hearing regarding item number 10. Anyone would like to speak regarding this item? Please come forward. State your name and address for the record, please.
Howdy, folks. My name is Armand Alex. I live at 1610 La Jolla Street. That's in the Los Encinos area, so it's definitely part of the West Side area. My family's lived here for the past 40 years. I'm a third generation Black and Tejano native here to our area. So I recently ran for office in District 3, and when we were going door to door, we surveyed at least 5,000 different houses. And a lot of folks weren't even aware that we have had this West Side plan going on. So we were able to provide them with some information about it. But what I'm worried about is the pool of people that we spoke to put input in the West Side Area Development Plan. I do believe that some of the priorities that we had would change a little bit. You know, we mentioned things like the homeless. We mentioned things like lighting in our streets. I do think that if we were able to have a larger pool of public input, some of these priorities would be just a little bit different. I can't speak for all of my neighbors, but I can certainly raise the issue that it was concerning to hear that some folks in different parts of District 3, at least, which is the majority of the West Side, didn't hear about some of these issues. I just wanted to bring that up as we move forward. And, you know, I don't know if it's too late to continue more public input. We can do our best as neighbors to invite our families and our neighbors to these meetings, but I know that the next few steps we'll see is going over to City Council meeting, and I know there's going to be some hearings, and so we're going to try our best to make sure that we bring more folks from our area to, make sure that this plan looks like what folks that live and work in that area want to do. But thank you all for all this help. I just wanted to bring that up. Thank you all.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to speak regarding this item? Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Hello, good evening. My name is Angela Leal of 217 Glendale Drive, and I come on behalf of the Westside Business Association. We worked very closely with Annika, and I'm very thankful for this remarkable plan, and I was very proud to be a part of it every step of the way. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to speak regarding this item? None, I will close the public hearing and entertain further discussions for the motion. Commissioners?
I think
Commissioner Menuz?
Oh.
You have a comment or you have?
I have
Sorry.
a question for
Staff?
Yeah, for staff.
Yes.
Looking at the methods of reaching out to the people in that area of the west side, what are our current methods? Do we send out mailers? I know there's like the online response, but what is our current methods for contacting everyone in that area?
We do not send out mail. We do not send out mailers to the
Okay.
entire, well, 53,000 people are in that study area, but.
Okay.
So yeah, we do, I guess I'm gonna go, we sent a lot of flyers out to churches, to schools, obviously social media, right? I think we had something like 20,000 people reached through social media
Are they
in
paid-
terms of those stats.
Is it paid advertising, or is it paid advertising through social media, or just organic posts?
We pay.
Pay, okay.
Yeah, we pay for that. Announcements at city council. We have a contact list, I think of about 2,000 people that we send an email to. Yeah, I think, I mean, the extra stuff is delivering flyers to churches and community locations, I would say.
Do we know, what are your thoughts on possibly integrating a mailer system, or what the anticipated cost would be for, sending a postcard to everyone in that area? Or possibly even utilizing, if, the contact list from the reverse alert system based on addresses, to send a text and saying, hey, this is what's going on in your neighborhood. Visit this website to learn more about it. I think, because 326 out of 53, was it 53,000?
Right.
That's tough to really get, love to see that at least be 5%, 10%. And I think we can, maybe the text alert system, right? Because everyone's on their phones.
Right.
Or even the mailer would be helpful.
Yeah, I mean, generally, mailers are considered expensive and not as effective. So,
Yeah. I mean, how many people do we see coming in here not getting the mailers for rezonings? So.
right, and I don't say that from my experience necessarily. That's our, industry guidelines. Like that's what's been found. And so, social media has been quite effective here recently. I think. We just had 580 people from the Bayside take the Bayside survey, sorry. So we're ranging somewhere between 300 to approaching 600 for that initial survey. The initial survey is always the easiest and most exciting, I think, to take for people. It's the quickest one. Just tell us your priorities, basically, right? So texting is something that we've looked into. We recently, the planning department recently subscribed to an engagement webpage called Bang the Table, or Engagement HQ is what it's called now. And so the texting service is something new that they're bringing on. In terms of using a reverse alert, we'd have to work with our communications department, and I'm sure they have criteria and/or concerns. I don't even know if community events is an option for reverse alerts. There's a category of things you can get notified for, so.
Cool, thank you.
Commissioner Miller?
I just make some comments because I sat on the Flower Bluff Area Redevelopment Plan and, or Area Development Plan. I'm currently sitting on the Bayside Area Development Plan. And I think that the planning department's done a really good job of reaching out to community organizers like West Side Business Alliance and or Association, and in Flower Bluff, there was a lot of folks that are very actively involved and that have really good networks for distributing the surveys to their friends and neighbors. I mean, hitting everybody is difficult, and then having to explain what the purpose of an area development plan is, because I know you probably get a lot of, fix the pothole in front of my house, that kind of thing. But these, especially in like the west side and bay side, both of which are largely built out, areas of the city, there's already established commercial corridors and residential areas and things of that nature. London area development plan was completely different because it was all raw land. And yes, there is changes to the future land use map that are considered for the West Side Area Development Plan and the Bayside Area Development Plan. But it's really just kind of, looking at areas that maybe are currently zoned a certain way that could be utilized in a different way. And then whenever those zoning changes inevitably happen 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20 years down the road, that's when you really see the input, and this room gets very, very filled. Which, it's kind of I don't know whether people want new things, but then they don't want it so close to their house or whatever. So it's kind of, I think, y'all are doing it the right way in reaching out to the churches and to the schools and to the, community organizations within those areas. And selecting good committee members that will do the work to reach out to the community and spread it out, in addition to, your sponsored posts and stuff about the area development surveys, and then getting people to fill out those surveys. That's the other half of the battle. So I think it's a good. I think y'all are doing about as well as you can. I know that there's probably not the outreach as much as I would want, as much as Mr. Alex would want and stuff like that. But you're doing it. You're doing the best you can.
Well, texting is something that we have looked into. Just it's been on our radar. So and then just who we're able to text is part of it. So generating that contact list has been important to us. And then we're able to get some engagement statistics from this new website that we have. So just starting this summer, right? So our stats show how many people through the website, how many people engaged, how many people were informed, and how many were aware. That's how we break it out. And so aware just means like you saw that this plan was out there. So we had 2,122 people who were aware, went to our website. 1,166 people actually downloaded something from our webpage. And then we had the 282 people engaged, which meant they left a comment on our page or they took this survey and attended an open house. So we have those stats, and those are useful. And yes, Michael is right too. The other part of our outreach is to ask organizations to forward information. So we ask people like the West Side Business Association, the Housing Authority, Del Mar College to share information about these events and the opportunities to give input.
Okay, any other questions? Commissioner Munoz.
Quick question. How often is this plan, once adopted, how often is it revisited and revised?
We'll have to work on that schedule. So we've adopted 5 new plans here since 2018, I think it is. So, they should be revisited every 5 years, technically.
Okay. Thank you.
And this was a 1989 plan that we're replacing.
Long overdue. Okay, at this time, do we have a motion regarding the item number 10 for the West Side Area Development Plan?
I move that we approve the West Side Area Development Plan as presented by staff.
Second.
We have a motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Annika. Moving on to item number 11, the master plan amendment.
Good evening. Nick Winkleman, Corpus Christi Water Engineering Manager. Tonight I'd like to present a master plan amendment. It's for the Oso Basin Wastewater Master Plan. The location of the amendment is south of Yorktown near Oso Creek. You can see it on the slide. The master plan amendment was requested by the developer, MPM Homes, and the engineer, Kimley Horn Engineering, to allow a new development to connect into the public wastewater system. The estimated flow from the 156.3 acres of developed land is approximately 403 gallons per day with a peak flow of 1.4 million gallons per day. The proposed amendment modifies the location of the originally planned master lines, and the amendment was reviewed by Pape Dawson Engineers, who's currently working on the new master plan work as commissioned by the city. The flows from these amended lines will be directed to the Starry Road lift station, which is consistent with the existing and original master plan. As you can see, this is the existing master plan, and again, the flows will go directly to an existing lift station located on Starry Road. That lift station currently is scalable. There's currently 2 existing pumps in the lift station. It was designed to accommodate 3 pumps, so the lift station was designed already to handle the existing or the future flows of the area. As you can see, this is just a closer view of the development. The master plan amendment only touches the 15-inch diameter and the 12-inch diameter lines. Again, I'd like to reiterate that the wastewater collection lines are consistent with the existing master plan. They've been reviewed by Pape Dawson just to make sure that their work is consistent with this proposed amendment, so we don't have any conflicts when they unveil the new master plan. And the new lines will be designed to meet the current existing city standards in terms of slope and capacity. Staff feels that the amendment is reasonable and it facilitates development in this location, and we recommend approval. I'm standing by for any questions that you may have.
Commissioners, you have any question for staff? Commissioner Garza.
Yes, being the fact that you have 281.6 acres, and out of that, you're going to be using the water for this 156.3 acres. What do they plan to do with the rest of the acres, which will be what, like 125?
Sure. So the information that I have is the developable land on the project site is 156 acres. That's going to be used for single-family, multifamily, commercial, and I believe a school is also planned for the area.
Right, but so there's nothing for the water on the rest of the acres that they own?
Currently, from the information that I've been presented, I don't know of any information on what they plan to utilize that property with. I do know it's along the Oso Bay and the Oso Creek, so I'm sure some of the property isn't developable.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Commissioner Miller.
So this wouldn't be sized appropriately to potentially tie in any developable land across Oso in Flower Bluff?
So there were some in the calculations conducted by Kimley Horn. There was some calculations for across Saratoga, but excuse me, which location you were talking about? Across the Oso Creek?
Yeah, into Flower Bluff.
So, no, currently, the master plan in this location doesn't call for any of those wastewater flows to cross over Oso Creek into that Starry Road lift station.
Okay.
Commissioners, have any other questions for staff? No, at this time, I will open the public hearing regarding this item. Does anyone would like to speak regarding this item? Number 11. None, I will close the public hearing. I do have a quick question. This proposed master plan amendment, is it particularly reflect this particular property, or does it affect like the others as well? Like, that was a question that I just didn't read in the presentation. Does it just specifically for this particular property?
Sure, absolutely. So the adjustment of the lines, and again, it's more of a relocation of the lines on the original master plan. They're primarily focused on this parcel. However, it is designed to take flows on the north side of Saratoga as well.
But what qualifies this property to have a master plan approved like this? Like,
So the master plan lines, are already existing, right? What the amendment is, it's shifting these master plan lines, one a little bit further south and one a little bit further west. It's just changing the location of the master plan lines.
and particularly out of my curiosity, I just want to ask this more of a staff, is this making a master plan amendment, is it not something that we always do for every property? So doing that, is there a particular reason for this particular property that is being in process?
So it was, as in any master plan amendment request, it channels through Development Services and Corpus Christi Water, and we take a look at it. And then in this period of time right now with the work that's being conducted by Pape Dawson, and we're sort of on the cusp of the new master plan, we take any requests, funnel it through Pape Dawson, and see if it's consistent with their work they're doing. In this particular case, because the location of those master plan lines are moving, it would require an amendment. So that's why they're requesting it. And what our job was to do was to make sure that it was feasible and consistent with both the existing master plan and the new master plan.
I see. Okay. Commissioner Munoz.
Do you have access to the calculations that Kimley Horn did? They're included in our agenda package, and if you do, there's a nice site map that shows the intended development of the area. So if you could pull that up, that'd be great.
Yeah, I don't have it on the computer, but I have it in my hand right here, sir.
Okay. That'd be good for, I think, the commissioners to see, because it does show that the area has a mixture of uses from retail to multifamily, commercial. There's a school area, single family, and then there's some open space and some wetland area. So of the 281 gross acres, only 171 are developable. So I just thought it'd be great to put that up on the screen for everybody to see. Or maybe pass around what you have.
Yeah,
if
and
anybody's
what I
interested in
like
taking
to
a look
do
at
is maybe read some of the data.
Sure.
If you're acceptable. So of the acreage, multifamily homes, 27.3 acres, single family, 64.4, educational, 40, commercial A, 16.98, commercial B, 11.32, retail, 9.2, and then single family coming from across the street, they estimated those flows. Those are in that table as well.
So that's the proposed plan from the developer or the?
That's correct. And this information identifies the estimated wastewater flows from the development of the property. So that's what my staff reviewed to make sure it was accurate, to make sure both the lift station and the collection system could handle it.
Does the calculation of these changes, because from my understanding, this property is not zoned yet through any of multifamily or commercial yet. Obviously, doing those, they're gonna have to get those zoning approved. But throughout this process, if they decide to change any of their project or proposed plan, does those calculation that has been factored in changes it in terms of?
Right, so as part of the public improvement process and the submittal for, and the submittals that are providing, if these numbers change, then that information is presented so we can make sure that the plan is still compliant.
I see. Okay. Thank you. Any other question for staff? We have a motion, further discussions regarding the item 11, master plan amendment.
I move that we approve the master plan amendment as presented by staff.
We have a motion and second. Everyone say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Moving on to director report, we already covered that. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us? Okay. In the future agenda item, what I'd like to share, obviously, with the holidays and Thanksgiving coming up, Gina mentioned that she plans to notify us and send the agenda by November 22nd and ask if we could get the confirmation of attendance on November 28th to make sure we do have quorum for the next November 30th, right? But by the 28th, if everyone could confirm, due to the fact that we have some shortage on the seats. So we'll make sure that we have quorum established. Any other discussions, future agenda items? None? We are adjourned.